So welcome in the chapter 10 life process respiration and part 4 video. Now today we are continuing our topic remaining for respiration, that is mechanism of breathing, and other parts that is remaining in the previous 3 parts. So today we are discussing about breathing process. What is a breathing? So it simply states that taking the air inside and giving out the air outside. That means taking the air inside containing more amount of the oxygen and giving out the air that is contain the more amount of carbon dioxide. So basically the breathing process involves 2 process that is called as a inhalation and exhalation. In human being we are studying about breathing. So inhalation process is a biomechanical process which occur due to the help of 2 types of the muscle. First, that is the intercostal muscles. Those muscles are present between the ribs. Those are called as the intercostal muscles, and a band of a muscle or a strap of a muscle present beneath the lungs, यानी lungs के नीचे, beneath the lungs, it called as a diaphragm. So with the help of the diaphragm and the intercostal muscle, we perform the procedure of the breathing. So let's continue the topic with the first process called as a inhalation. So in the process of the inhalation, what exactly the process occurs? So inhalation called as a breathe in, simply the air taking inside the chest cavity or the thoracic cavity by the human being. So what is the process occurs? Simply first we see as a in resting condition. So the resting condition, the ribs on are their original place, the chest cavity is flaccid, and the diaphragm is about somewhat dome shaped. Now when the inhalation process occurs, the first process occurs is called as a diaphragm moves downward. So here you can see in resting condition diaphragm is almost dome shaped, but in this condition where the inhalation is occurring, the diaphragms almost converted into the flat. And ribs, what are the movement of the ribs in the process of the inhalation? The ribs moves forward and outward and upward. So that means something like this. So this is the movement of the ribs in the process of inhalation, forward and outward, in upward. Now what is the significance of these 2 movements? That becoming of the diaphragm is flat and the movement of the ribs upward and downward. This increases the volume of the chest cavity. Here you can see that the volume of the chest cavity increases, that's why, and pressure decreases. So that means the air present outside the body, that in the atmosphere, is at higher pressure, and here the pressure in the chest cavity decreases, so the air flowed outward, from outward to inward, that means inside the body, result in the air comes inside the body. So because of the increase in the volume of the thoracic cavity and decrease in the pressure in the thoracic cavity, the air comes inside the chest cavity or inside the lungs. So this will complete the process of inhalation. Now inhalation again followed by exhalation. So in further part we will discuss about exhalation. So inhalation followed by exhalation. So what would occur in exhalation? Just the opposite that occurred in inhalation. In exhalation we can see we breathe out air outside of the body. That means diaphragm moves upwards. What are the movement of the ribs? So ribs move downwards and backwards, and because of the diaphragms moves upwards, and because of the movement of ribs downwards and backward, the volume of the air cavity or chest cavity decreases and pressure inside that particular cavity increases. That leads to the air rush out from the lung. So now in the diagram we discuss this process. In previous condition or resting condition kahe ya inhalation condition, just opposite movement occur in the exhalation. That means ribs movements, that means ribs go downwards and backwards, and the shape of the diaphragm occurs as a more of a dome shape it, that leads to the compression of the chest cavity. That means the pressure inside the chest cavity increases and the volume of that particular chest cavity or the air sac cavity decreases. That leads to the air out of the lungs and from out of the body to the environment. So this includes the whole process of the breathing, that includes inhalation followed by a exhalation. This process is continuously occurs in human being and leads to the process of breathing. Now further we discuss about the role of the respiration and other parts in the discussed chapter. Now there is a role of blood in a respiration. We know that the human body contains blood inside the veins and arteries. So what is the role of the blood in the process of the respiration? So here we know that blood contains certain kind of cell or capsules or small cell called as a red blood cell. These red blood cell are disc shaped and they contain a special type of pigment that called as a hemoglobin. Here pigment means something is a colored substance, that is biological molecule present inside the red blood cell called as a hemoglobin. It is a pigment because it is a colored substance. And we here we know that hemoglobin contains a special type of iron ions. So iron ions that gives the color of blood is brick red. So human body color is dark brick red because of the iron contained inside the hemoglobin and hemoglobin contained inside the red blood cell. So this gives the color blood is red. Now what is the role of blood, or also called as what is the role of hemoglobin in the process of respiration? Now hemoglobin's prime function in the respiration is to carry or transport oxygen from alveoli, the air sac cavity present inside the lungs. So the role of hemoglobin is transport oxygen from alveoli to the various tissue by the help of the blood, and also to carry carbon dioxide from various tissues and body organs and take it to the ultimately again alveoli to the lungs, and from there we breathe out that air that contain high amount of the CO2. So here you can see you all can see that the prime function of the blood or red blood cell, or also called as a hemoglobin, also the function of hemoglobin is to transport oxygen from outer environment or from the lung cavity to the body organs, and carry the CO2 from body organs to the lungs. So this is the prime role of blood, or also called as a prime role of the hemoglobin. Now in further section we discuss about the respiration and plant, and what is the relation between respiration and photosynthesis in plant. Now how does the respiration occurs in the plant? As you all know that every organism such like green plants require energy for their daily life function. So in plant we already discussed about how they obtain energy. They obtain energy from sun or solar energy, performing the process photosynthesis, and by the use of energy, sun energy or solar energy, perform photosynthesis. They made a product or sun energy trapped inside or stored in a form of the organic matter called as a glucose. Now by organic matter or glucose broken down or oxidized, and they obtain their energy for the various life process inside green plants. So in every organism like green plant also the process of respiration occurs, and for the respiration the raw material, that is glucose, produced by the process called photosynthesis, whereas in animal the raw material glucose is obtained by the process called nutrition. So in further part we will discuss the mechanism of respiration inside the cell, that is called as a cellular respiration. How does the cellular respiration occur, and what are the various types of the cellular respiration, and in further or later part we discuss about the factor affecting for the process of the respiration. So let's continue. Now mechanism of cellular respiration occurs inside the cell, and it occurs in a two-step process. So in first step it occurs in the cytoplasm of the cell. the liquid that contain inside the cell, that is called as a cytoplasm, and the first step occurs in that cytoplasm. And what is occur in first step, that is glucose broken down incompletely. The oxidization or breaking down of the glucose occurs incompletely in the cytoplasm with the production of some amount of energy in the form of ADP, or also called as a adenosine triphosphate, that is also called as the energy coin of a cell. That means, or also called as the energy currency of the cell. And in second step, as we know, it occurs inside the mitochondria, a special type of cell organelle present inside the cell. So the second step, or also called as a complete breakdown of the glucose, occur in the mitochondria of the cell, and that leads to the formation of the carbon dioxide and some amount of water and production of energy. So what is the second step? And it is a complex process and occur in this type of chemical reaction where glucose, that is C6H12O6, oxidized in the presence of 6 molecules of oxygen that acquired by the process of breathing, and leads to the formation of 6 molecules of carbon dioxide and 6 molecules of water, and with the production of energy in the form of ATP. So this whole process occurs inside the cell, that's why it is called as a cellular respiration. Partial process occur inside the cytoplasm, and the remaining complete process occur in the mitochondria, that leads to the formation of carbon dioxide, water and amount of energy in the form of ATP. Now in further section we will discuss about this process or second step. It is of two types, that is aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. So let's continue the topic with this particular heading. Now the cellular respirations occur in two types, that is called as aerobic respiration first type, and second type is called as anaerobic respiration. The name itself suggests, that means the aerobic respiration or process occurs in presence of air, that means oxygen, and anaerobic occurs in absence of oxygen. So that means the aerobic respiration perform inside the cell with the presence of oxygen, so that the one molecule of glucose completely oxidized or completely broken down into the carbon dioxide, water, and the more amount of the energy, that is 673 kilocalorie energy produced in the form of 38 ATP, that is adenosine triphosphate. And these aerobic respiration process, as you can see, occurs only in higher plants and in all the animals, and this process occur in the cell's cytoplasm and mitochondria, because the special type of chemical or called as enzymes of the aerobic respiration presence in both cytoplasm and mitochondria in case of aerobic respiration, whereas in anaerobic respiration one molecule of the glucose incompletely oxidized to carbon dioxide and other product is called as a ethyl alcohol, and less amount of energy in compared to the aerobic respiration, 28 kilocalorie produced. And this process of anaerobic respiration occurs only in lower plants like algae, and other animals or other organisms are fungi and bacteria. This process of anaerobic respiration sometimes also called as a fermentation, and aerobic respiration only occur in the cytoplasm of the cell, because the enzyme required for the anaerobic respiration, all the enzyme present inside the cytoplasm. So as you can differentiate in between these two processes, so here we can see the process occurs of aerobic respiration in presence of O2, here absence of O2. One molecule of glucose completely oxidized and more amount of energy is produced in case of aerobic, and one molecule glucose incompletely oxidized and less amount of energy is produced. This process occur in higher plant and animal, this process occur in lower plant like algae and other organisms like fungi and bacteria. This process occur in the cytoplasm and mitochondria of the cell, and in case of anaerobic respiration, or the process only occur in the cytoplasm. So here you can tabulate the differences between anaerobic respiration and aerobic respiration. So in further part we also discuss the chemical reaction. What are the chemical reactions occur in these two cases? So as previously told, and also the chemical reaction depict that one molecule of glucose completely oxide in the presence of oxygen in case of aerobic respiration, converted to the 6 molecule of carbon dioxide and 6 molecule of water, and the production of more amount of energy, almost 673 kilocalorie in the form of 38 ATP. Whereas in the anaerobic respiration, glucose incompletely oxidized in the absence of the oxygen leads to the formation of the ethyl alcohol and some amount of carbon dioxide, and also less amount of energy in compared to the aerobic respiration, that is 28 kilocalorie. This process of anaerobic respiration sometimes also called as a fermentation in some kind of organism. Now in further section we will discuss about the factors affecting the process of respiration in various organisms. So there are various factors affecting the respiration in various type of organism. Some common factors are like oxygen, temperature of that particular organism or the environment, carbon dioxide, water in case of plant, and rate of respiration also depend on some other factor also. So we will discuss one by one factor that affect the respiration. So first, that is called oxygen. So in case of lack of O2, that means the concentration of oxygen is low in outer environment, that leads to the decrease in the respiration rate. That means in the lack of oxygen, the rate of respiration decreases, that means go downwards. And increase in the concentration of oxygen in outer environment leads to the increase in the rate of respiration. That means the rate of respiration directly proportional to the concentration of the oxygen in outer environment. Then in case of the temperature, so rate of the respiration increases with the increase in the temperature, but up to a certain limit. That limit is almost 45 degree. That means when you increase the temperature up to the 45 degree, the rate of the respiration increases. But when you go beyond the 45 degree centigrade, the enzymes, the special type of chemical, those required for the process of the respiration destroyed because of the high temperature. So that leads to the decrease in the rate of the respiration. Now third factor, that is carbon dioxide. So concentration of the carbon dioxide increases, that means it leads to the decrease in the rate of the respiration in all type of the organism. In case of plants, water also affect the respiration. So whenever the optimum amount of water present in case of plant, the rate of respiration increases. So in case of respiration in plant, the amount of water also plays an important role in the rate of respiration. Apart from these factors, also in case of plant, amount of the glucose, what are the exact amount of glucose present inside the particular organism also affect the rate of respiration. And in case of the plant, rate of the plant growth also affect the rate of respiration. So these are the various factors that affect the rate of respiration and various organism, plants, animal, all. So this topic of life process respiration for class 7th is completed. In further videos we will discuss about the other systems like reproduction in plants. Thank you.